Hello everyone, welcome back to The Interview. I'm your host, Susan Lee MacDonald. Today, we'll meet someone who has turned architecture into a form of art by making comfortable and creative spaces. And he is none other than architect Suh Eul-ho. Join me as I meet the mastermind behind the first brand experience center here in Korea. So let's go and meet Suh Eul-ho for the interview.
Architect Suh Eul-ho took part in an artist-architect collaboration, submitting the blueprint to one of the world's most prestigious architecture exhibitions at the Venice Biennale. This and many other creative works by the brilliant architect are gaining recognition from all corners of the world. He collaborated with his brother, Suh Do-ho, a world-renowned installation artist, on several projects including the In-Between Hotel for the 2012 Gwangju Biennale. This specific project garnered a lot of attention for reinventing unnoticed small spaces. And on top of this, he has been working with top companies on building their brand identity. Stay tuned to meet and learn more about Suh Eul-ho, who continually surprises the world of art and architecture with his original works.
Wow. Oh, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Eul-ho Suh.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Wow. You know, this is my first time coming into this space, and it's really special.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. Tell me all about this. I know you're a very experienced architect and the mastermind behind this first brand experience center here in Korea. So tell me all about the concept behind the space.
Well, you know, this is, what do you call it, the Hyundai Motor Studio. And, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of cars, right? But you don't see any cars on the first and the second floor.
I mean, just coming in, I was expecting that this was some kind of an art gallery as opposed to a motor show studio.
Right, and basically that was sort of like our concept to begin with, because nowadays cars are no longer transportations, they're just part of our lifestyle. So when people come into any sort of I don't know, space like this, they wanted to feel a little bit more comfortable. So like oh, I go to museum, oh, I go to cafe or library, and then there's a here and there, we could have some cars so they can, experience, with the cars and the rest of the lifestyle. So that was the basic concept.
That's so cool. So you've created the platform for this, but I also look around and I see a lot of kind of steel pipe architecture. Is this something that also kind of came from
right? And I, when I was thinking about Hyundai, what is Hyundai really? Interestingly enough, they have a steel company. And what they do is basically, they collect all the, metal scraps, and then make the, the sheets of metals, and then from that they make these wonderful cars. And then when the car gets old and used, and they can somehow use them as any sort of architectural material, such as like a beams.
So that's where all this comes from. So it's like recycled cars.
Recycled cars.
So basically this might have been an old car a long time ago.
It's possible, yeah.
Well, I think that what's interesting too is that I can hear some people kind of upstairs, and it looks like there's a lot of activity going up. Do you mind if we check out what's upstairs?
Sure, let's go up. Yep.
Okay. So tell me what's on the second floor.
Well, the second floor, we've got auto library.
This kind of gift shop is just kind of specializing in automotive things?
That's right. And we didn't just want to have just automobile related books because like I said earlier, you know, the cars are part of our life. It's more like a lifestyle sort of. So we've got, you know, several, you know, lifestyle related, you know, books and so on.
So what can we see next? What's next?
I don't know.
The third floor?
Third floor, we can go up to third floor. That's fine. Let's
Okay.
go up.
Okay,
Yep.
fantastic. Ah, so this is the third floor.
This is the third floor.
Nice, wow. It seems like our crew has already started to prepare for the interview over here.
Wow, that's great.
So that's something to look forward to for
All
us
right.
later.
And the third floor that we are on right now is more about modern premium. That's what they call it, modern premium, very luxury, you know, cars, right? And so we wanted to somehow provide all the options they can have for their, you know, cars. So, you know, before they, you know, buy cars, they know what types of, you know, colors and the leather, and then, you know, yeah. So they can basically see all of them.
And what's that up there?
Basically, this is another sort of installation that we made, and this is the part of Genesis. It's a new car that, you know, they just, you know, on the launch.
Yes.
So somehow we wanted to, how do I say, express the idea of like using natural wood for the parts of the cars. That's
Well,
right.
you know, I just love the idea of this kind of steel structure and sculpture being in the shape of a car. Did you measure it out to be a particular kind of car as well?
No, not really. But we did have a model, but we somehow simplified that, right? We just, you know, the car design is just way too complicated, but, you know, size and everything was just like, you know, we modified it just a little bit, right? But, you know, once you're inside of this, you know, raw material, you have a very nice, you know, comfy, you know, chairs, and, you know, with the leather and everything, and you can actually feel that sort of, you know, environment when you go into this, you know, premium, you know, class cars.
Yeah, wow.
So that's the sort of like a very simple concept for this area. Yeah.
That's really nice, wow. Well, given that you've designed this space, I think it's only appropriate that we have our interview kind of in this space.
Okay.
So shall we go over
Okay.
and kind of get started with the interview?
All right.
Okay, great. So we're finally seated for our interview, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all about your life, your profession, and, you know, how you've, you know, become an architect. I'm curious about the concept behind this incredible Hyundai Motor Studio. I don't think I've ever really seen anything quite like this before.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, your work has garnered quite a lot of attention, especially these days, and it seems to have somewhat of a mass appeal. Does that surprise you?
I don't know. I didn't expect that, and that's not what I was looking for. You know, we just did, you know, what we believed in, and that's what, you know, the public noticed, and that's what people like about, and that's great. You know, but we didn't really, you know, plan to, you know, the public to, you know, recognize the building. No, it wasn't like that at all. And we wanted to somehow superimpose the concept of the, you know, the company. I'm talking about this building. You know, I wanted to somehow redefine, you know, who they are, and, you know, so we just did our job. That's all. Yeah.
Why do you think it is that the clients come to you? What do you think differentiates you from a lot of the other architects out there? Because there are a lot of very talented people in the world, but why would they choose you over someone else, in your opinion?
Well, that's a very good question. You know, frankly speaking, I don't know. But the one thing that I know for sure is that, like I said earlier, you know, all the projects that we're doing, we give more than 200% of what we have. And all the people who get involved with, our previous projects, they've been working really hard, right? And then the result is actually what we, expected. We had a certain standard, which is very high, and we are very curious about the, the final product, the quality. Quality is very important, right? And because, at the end, architecture, well, you could do some really crazy shape or, crazy things, and people go, wow, but, when it rains, it leaks, and, there's no, let's say, if those things are fail, then that's a problem, right? And we don't want that happen, right? So we want to deliver at least like, the satisfy with our standard, which is quite high, and we want to deliver the product. And so, probably the older clients that we have is most likely they've been to our projects before, and they say, wow, who did this? I like it, or oh, it looks tight. Okay, maybe I can trust these people. So I think those are the clients that we get.
You might get asked this question quite a lot because you've been an architect for quite some time, but is it even possible to say that you really cherish a certain kind of building or project that you've done over the others? Is there one project that you can say, you know what, I'm really, really proud of this, and I wish more people knew about it?
There's a project that I was working on with my brother and my wife. And the project is called The Blueprint. It was the installation work that we did for 2010 Venice Biennale. And basically, that project was such an interesting project to begin with, because my brother was invited to Venice Biennale first, and back then, for 2010 Venice Biennale, the curator was from Japan, and she was a very famous architect, Sejima, and she was curating the Venice Biennale, and she wanted to somehow collaborate, art and architecture together. And so my brother got invited first, and then he had an idea about his own stuff, and then since he had to collaborate with an architect, immediately he was thinking about his younger brother, which was me, and so we started to collaborating together. And then my wife also got involved with that project because my wife has a very interesting background. She started off the art major in college, and then got a master's in sculpture, and then got on architecture, another, master's. So,
a family full of artists.
Yeah, yeah. So the three of us got together, and then we came up with a very interesting, idea. So to me, it was a very memorable, project because, I was dealing with an artist, and also, we had to come up with, some sort of architectural language, and then collide it together and make it one just piece of, art.
Collaborations aren't always easy, as far as I understand, because you all have different visions or ideas and come from different backgrounds, even if you are family. But maybe especially because you're family, there might be some possibility for a greater kind of synergy and interaction and ability to understand. But also, on some level, it's not always easy to work with family too. So, were there any challenges with having to work with family? I mean, it sounds like you find that particular project very memorable, but was there any thing that was particularly challenging?
Actually, a lot of people actually ask me that kind of question, but no, not really, because, for instance, I've been growing up with my brother, and, I was very close to him, and then we talk about this kind of, topics quite often, My father is also a painter, and so when I was growing up, four of us, my mom and my dad and my brother, we've been talking about all this kind of stuff all the time. And when we grew up, and then he became an artist, and I became an architect. We have a very interesting common sort of denominator. So when you actually execute a project, I think the synergy that we have is much interesting and much more powerful.
So in addition to corporate spaces or this type of space, which is a corporate and art space and a showroom, all in one, and much more, you also design living spaces too, right?
Correct.
So what are some of the things that you really consider important when it comes to a living space?
Wow, that's, you know, the designing living space, let's say residential project, that is the most difficult project. It is very obvious, you know, because certain people have their, you know, their own way of living, and how can I understand that? I can't, right? So I have to talk to them all the time. And then, you know, when you initiate a project like that, you know, you have a certain period of time, you know, when you design, all right? So we call it conceptual stage, schematic stage, and design development, and construction document, and, you know, construction admin. You have a whole different types of, you know, process. And we like to spend quite a time with the client, you know, for the conceptual stage to understand who they are. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, do you live in a home that you built?
No, you know what though? We're designing our home right now.
Really?
Yeah. Especially my wife is designing. My wife is an architect, and she's designing it right now.
That's so interesting. So tell me about your wife now. You said that she was an architect, or she's an architect. Did you meet in school? Did you meet through friends? Do you mind sharing your story of how you met and all about her?
Yeah, my wife does study in art in college, and then she went to Rhode Island School of Design, you know, to get a master's in sculpture. And back then, you know, she did a lot of, you know, site-specific installation. And then while she was doing that, she got interested in space, right? So she decided to get another master's in architecture. So, you know, she came to Harvard, and that's where we met.
Interesting. So you both met during your stay at Harvard, and was it love at first sight?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And here you are, how many years later? 15 years later?
We got married in 1999, so it's almost 15 years.
Wow. Do you think that having married someone who understands your passion has helped you all to stay together and be happy as a couple and collaborate together on, you know, building things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been very helpful. You know, I can totally trust, you know, what she's, you know, criticizing about the design, and her opinion is very, you know, how do I say, very helpful.
It sounds like a perfect type of person to collaborate with in many areas.
Yeah,
you know.
and I'm very thankful. And yeah. 안녕하세요.
오늘 어떻게 오신 거예요, 여기?
네, 오늘 저희가 하나의 그 미술 그 전시 작품을 만든 그 오프닝에 왔습니다. 네.
옆에 분은 누구신지
네,
안녕하세요.
네, 여긴 저희 그 인생의 동반자이자 저랑 같이 건축 설계하고 또 예술 그 작품을 만드는 김경은 소장님입니다. 네.
반갑습니다.
네.
Suh Architects, headed by Suh Eul-ho, was commissioned to undertake this global art exhibition project titled Inspiring Journey. They took spun bond and transformed non-woven fabrics into fantastic works of art where the yellow, orange, and red hues blended harmoniously together.
It looks good in larger screen.
Much better than envisioned.
Yeah. So shall we move on?
This was the first time the exhibition was being held in Korea, so the architect couple decided to check it out.
Okay, we'll explain our installation pieces. And we've got 4 different installations, okay? And then we're gonna go into one of each, and then we'll try to explain exactly what they are, okay? So shall we go?
This is one and only. There are 4, and you begin with yourself. We started with just one person, and it each ends with one person, and they're, in the end, 160 layers, and they all begin with this same profile that sort of evolves as you go in, and they become different in all four. This one is one and only. It's the idea of you becoming larger than yourself and then back again. It's kind of you within yourself.
So when you enter, you become a very, very huge person inside of this thing.
And this is called one to many. And as you'll see, the same profile that you start with ends up as being several people. It's the idea that you are in a collective. We're always in reference to other people.
It's a little over the 2 years, and it's been quite a journey for us because there are just too many materials that we had to study from, and we decided to go with the spanban, and here we are.
So here we're going to one to higher self.
But it looks very like Korean traditional roof in many ways, yeah. But actually, it's a human figure, yeah.
We've had some people pray in here in Beijing,
yeah, in Beijing,
meditate,
yeah,
which is very flattering. Yeah. I think it suggests also the ceiling of a Buddhist temple as well, and because of the materials, it straddles the line between paper and fabric. People aren't sure what it is, but that's also maybe the Korean reference. So this is our final habitat. It's called One to Infinity, and we're basically sending you out into the world after you've had your meditative experience. And if you look closely, these are individual people, the same scale, but they've been cut into the actual spanban. And the original concept is that you would tear each one off as you leave, and this habitat would eventually disappear.
So you can see, the color changes, from red to, very bright yellow, somehow represented, infinite world of, your own world. So you can just go out through this, as a final, habitat.
The Inspiring Journey exhibition held in the 798 Art Zone of Beijing in April caused a sensation, attracting over 45,000 visitors over the course of 10 days. And it finally landed in Korea, where it was met with an equally explosive response.
In Beijing exhibition, the space itself was totally different from DDP space, as what you see here. So this is the configuration that we had in Beijing. It was a really long and linear space. So somehow, how are we gonna actually, place this, 4 habitats? So we came out with so many different ideas, and that we were able to actually, play with them as a model, and then we lay down this way, and then make sure that everything is okay, and then we actually install the real pieces in the Beijing space.
Suh Eul-ho captured the exhibition scene in China, where he tore down the language barrier with his architectural designs, as well as his original artworks created with spunbond.
And then when we came down to DDP space, the space itself was very, wonderful, and it was a bit different from, a Beijing area. So basically what we did was, we put them together, and then, somehow we wanted to make it as a flower sort of like, we intensified the, space in the center. So we placed them, 4 of them together, and then so that people can go around this way. So this is the result. So these kind of sketch models were very important for us.
After touring the 4 habitats, visitors took part in a special crafts workshop where they had the chance to turn into artists themselves. They also created their own avatars on the digital seed wall.
there aren't many people that you can ask that know you well and trust, where you can bounce an idea off of each other. And we're brutally honest with each other when it comes to a project, I think. And so in a lot of ways, I'd say that it's a pretty productive. Yeah. We're completely different people at home. My kids wish we were more relaxed, but you come in here and you have the time to sort of take a breath and forget what it is you had to do and the stress that you're under, and you would come in and people would take away surprise and the understanding that you really can make something out of anything.
Suh Eul-ho and Kyung-en of Suh Architects demonstrated their unique artistic sense and creativity by creating fascinating artworks using an industrial material that's considered neither beautiful nor interesting. We hope they continue to shed new light on architecture and design through innovative projects.
Out of curiosity, what made you decide to become an architect?
That's a very interesting question. Well, I wasn't smart enough to be a physician, or I wasn't good at math, but I wasn't talented enough to be a pure artist. So I said, well, what would that be in between? And I became an architect.
Now, did you like making models when you were a kid? Did you like kind of designing things as a kid? Just curious.
Well, I have one older brother. He and I have been doing so many different things, while we were growing up together. We did so many, when I think about it now, it's so many stupid things. But yeah, he and I have been making so many different things. The models, and you would, if you have some sort of toy, then we tweak things and make it totally different things and so on. So we had a lot of fun with that. Whenever my dad, traveled out of Korea, we were all expected some sort of present, right? But then they always, he always gave us, the pencils and, sketchbooks and stuff like that. So we've been sketching so many things while we were growing up. So I think it was, in a way, it was, very natural, sort of, how do I say, becoming an architect. Yeah, so to me, it was quite natural. Yeah.
Would you maybe consider, having grown up around artist parents and the construction of your family traditional hanok house, your first project, or maybe something else?
Well, right before I went to the graduate program, I had a very small project called the Camelot Soul Jazz Restaurant. And,
Camelot.
Yeah, Camelot.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so that was my first project, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I remember going to that building quite a lot because my friend owned
that's
it,
interesting.
and I love the bathrooms.
Oh,
the bathrooms
wow,
with
I can't believe you still remember that.
Yeah, no, I do, because the wash basins were the traditional Korean.
Right. Good memory.
Yeah, it was really impressed me, and I remember thinking, this is a really interesting use of traditional Korean elements.
Right.
So do you find that you use a lot of traditional Korean elements in your architecture?
That's very interesting because, frankly speaking, the Korea has so many interesting, how do I say, so-called design motif, right? Because that's what we used to have for a long time, and we just forgot them all just because Korea, we went through so many incredible the moment, right? Japanese colonization and Korean War, and we all had to survive from these really tough situations, right? Because of that, I think we've lost so many good things that we used to have because we had to survive. But now I think it's a good time for us, think back and look back and what we used to have, and now we can basically apply those beautiful things to contemporary architecture. So when I grew up in Hanok, if you look at inside of the little house, it was very simple and it was very contemporary, right? So to me, I don't know, nowadays, all the design work that I do, I think that sort of, idea is embedded into, my design. And I hope, right?
So interesting. Yeah. As someone who creates a lot of interesting architecture, and you probably, not only because of your education abroad and also being bicultural, have elements of both East and West in who you are, but also in your architecture. How do you decide how to bring in certain elements of East and West into your architecture?
Well, it's not a matter of, I want to bring it into like, that sort of, I don't know if that's the case. I think, let me put it this way. Let's say if you're traveling, let's say Italy, right? And you see like, you can taste so many different types of pastas and then beautiful Italian food, right? And if you go to Japan, you eat all different types of sushi or tempura, and here in Korea, you can eat all different types of food, right? Quite wonderful, right? So by the time you move around these, cities, right? And you experience their culture, right? And then, let's say you have a party for your own, and then you invite all these people, and because of all this experience that you have from different cultures, then you can basically it just comes naturally, right? Whatever you cook, right?
Sure. I'd like to ask you about your decision to study in the U.S. From what I understand, you lived in the U.S. for about 20 years, starting in '83. What was the impetus or reason why you decided to go and study and live in the States for that long?
Well, I didn't plan for that, that long. But it happened, right? But I don't know. When I was, growing up, I was thinking about being an architect. Yeah, and then I had a chance to go out there, and I think I was very lucky. So I took that chance, and then went out there and studying in architecture.
Now, at the time, I'm guessing that you could have gone to school here in Korea for architecture. Was there a reason why you chose to go out to the States?
Well, I was thinking about going outside of Korea actually when I was young, and maybe I was thinking I'll go there, the sophomore year. Maybe I was thinking, but then I had a chance, before sophomore, so I took that chance and I went over. So that's what it happened.
So after going to school for architecture, which is normally what, 5 years?
That's right. For
then
undergrad.
You decided, did you go straight into graduate school?
No, actually, well, I did 5-year programs at Rhode Island School of Design, and then I had to come back to Korea for military service. So I finished the military service, and then I worked here for a while. And then, while I was doing that, I was doing the Camelot, and also I was working for Amorphosis. And the founder of the firm, his name is Tom Main, and he's a great architect, very famous architect in the world. And he had a project in Korea, and he was looking for a project manager for that project that he had in Korea, and then he was driving by and he saw the facade of the building that I was designing, and they said, hey, I'd like to work on on this project with this this guy. So I met Tom Main back then in 1995. Yeah, so I was working on the project with Morphosis before I went to the Harvard. Yeah.
Switching topics a little bit, you have now returned to Korea after having been in the States for a while, and you've been back for about 8 years. What was the reason that you decided to return here?
Well, I worked for someone else, quite a long time, and then, I decided to open up my own thing. And of course, I was struggling because, there are not that many projects. But then I've got this project, back in Korea. It was a very small project, and from there, I had to make a lot of, field trip, right? The business trip, from States to Korea. It was quite a bit. And then, while I was making those business trips, I realized, this is my home country, right? Especially when you live outside of Korea, and when you hear some news, and you become incredibly, super patriotic, right? And when I came here, there's so many things that we could do, right? And there's so many possibilities. And then, oh wow, I could make this situation much better, or maybe I could help them out, right? And maybe, I'm not a Bill Gates, so I cannot make any sort of like a humongous donation to society, but I could donate something else, whatever the experience that I had from outside of Korea, and so that's why I felt some possibilities, So it might be very challenging for me to, actually bring those experiences back to Korea, and then, make a bit of contribution. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Actually, I'm not saying whatever I do will, help this country out or not. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, I just wanted to, let people know that, these could be another options, right? And this is not the only answer. You have another options to think about, yeah? And that's what I'm trying to do right now.
I hear you've done some work in the Jeolla province, and particularly in the city of Gwangju. That's very groundbreaking, and I'd love to hear more about that project from you.
That Gwangju project, I've got several projects in Gwangju actually, and one of them, the first the project in Gwangju was actually a collaboration with my brother. It's called the In-Between Hotel for Gwangju Biennale.
I've seen some photos and it's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah? Actually, basically it's a movable hotel, and we build we call it 5-star hotel on top of this truck. Okay. And that truck goes around different parts of Gwangju and find a slot in between buildings. Okay. And what my brother was trying to do was, he decided to have understand, the Gwangju city, city of Gwangju a little bit, more. Like an intimate way, because for Korean people, when you say Gwangju, we have all these histories, right? And then they think about all this tragedy and all that. But beyond that, the city of Gwangju is so rich and so much culture, and not they're not been really exposed to outside of Gwangju. So he wanted to somehow superimpose that, right? So he got an idea of this, putting a hotel in between, and then, the people like you and me just go there and they stay in the hotel and they find more about, real city of Gwangju, right?
And so you're able to mix a little bit more with the locals.
Absolutely.
And have a great experience in this very kind of unusual, unique hotel setting.
Yeah.
That's not typically a hotel.
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
But you know, we have all the locals got involved with this project. So like Ramada Hotel was managing the real, you know, the inside of the hotel that we designed, and then you know all the you know the what do you call the government related people are like trying to you know engage with the locals and try to get the permits for everybody, and so it was a lot of fun. And then you know Gwangju has just so many places to go and so many places to eat, and then you know.
They're famous for their food, aren't they?
They're very
Some of the best
famous.
food in Korea.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
like, you know, we have like a special deal for like, you know, a breakfast. For instance, you know, like there's a haejanguk, you know, place. Then, you know, you can get a coupon, and then you can go to the local, you know, famous haejanguk place and have breakfast. You know, that sort of thing. And so it was a very interesting project. And then, you know, I got a couple other projects. These are like a real architectural projects, and one of them is. Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, it's a football club. There's a football club, and then we built a clubhouse. And you know, famous you know football players like you know Lee Dong-guk and 최강희 감독님 and all these people you know managing that you know the football club. So we built that, and we also had a Kia Motors. The Kia Tigers, they've got you know professional baseball teams, so we built their clubhouse also. So we've got you know quite interesting engagement with the Jeolla province.
Very interesting. Having worked with Gwangju and also having worked in Seoul, do you find that there's any difference when it comes to working with Koreans from different parts of the country?
No, I think you know wherever you do, you know, I think when you initiate any sort of project, luckily, you know, I've been engaging with so many people who have so much passion about their work. So that was to me that was most intriguing, you know, experience. You know, either Gwangju or Seoul or you know different places. You know, I think the Korean you know people are you know they have so much passion about what they do. So it was a great experience. Yeah.
It seems that you have quite a busy schedule. Not only are you running your own architectural firm and taking on a lot of very interesting and diverse projects, you're also teaching students at Seoul National University and doing interviews with people like me. How do you alleviate your stress or tension?
You know, I could just let those things, you know, just go away. And I think the good time of the, you know, the day that I do it is when I go home. I mean, I go home quite, you know, late every day. You know, architect's life is not that, you know, it's not that simple. But you know, I go home around like 2 in the morning, and so I take a very nice driveway, and then you know just relax and you know open up the windows and listening to very quiet music and just cruising around, and there might be a perfect time for me to get rid of all these stresses. But you know.
In talking with you, I can tell that you're somewhat of a philosophical person. If you had to philosophize about what is good architecture, what would you say is good architecture?
It's very simple. Passionate, passionate effort. If the architect has that kind of passion, and you can put incredible effort into one, project, and that project could be something else. Yeah? And I totally believe in that, because it's not an easy profession, and you have to work very, very hard, and every night, every day. But if you don't have that, then architecture will be just the building without shadows, right? And you want something very special, you got to put into a lot of passionate effort into it. Yeah.
Eul-ho, thank you so much for your time. I have really enjoyed listening to your stories and about your childhood, as well as just what it's like to be an architect. So thank you again. I wish you all the best with your future projects.
Oh, thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing what more will be coming from that creative mind of yours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So now, before we end, I hear that you have an incredible kind of light system outside of the building once it's dark, and so since it's dark, would you mind showing me the exterior?
Oh, do you want it?
I'd love
sure.
to see. Yeah.
We can go outside and I can tell you all about it.
Okay, fantastic.
That's
well,
great.
let's go. Okay, lead the way. Oh, okay. Ladies first?
Yeah.
So we're going to get to see the lights, right?
Yeah. What's your step?
Thank you. Now that it's nighttime, what can I expect to see here? What am I supposed to be looking for?
Well, we have several different types of lighting system here.
Okay.
And before actually I talk about the lightings, I can talk about the glass first.
Okay.
You know,
the glass?
glass.
Building?
Yeah,
Okay.
as you can see,
Yeah.
the glass wall, we have a frit patterns.
Okay.
Right, that actually creates a very, fantastic, sort of like a fantasy, like, a facade. And within that, we have all different types of eight different types of LED lighting system here.
8 different types. I only know of one type of LED light.
well, it's 8 different colors, I should say. I'm so
okay.
sorry, but yeah, 8 different colors. And if you can look at it, the cars are rotating in different angles. Yeah.
But you can only see at nighttime, right?
That's
Because
right.
you can't do this during the day.
That's right.
So you've got 9 different cars, different kind of patterns of the lighting and colors. So is it kind of a random thing, or do you just have you programmed the different lighting systems and timing and patterns?
We have a very interesting story about this lightings, because we didn't want to show the people when we're working on this thing. So while we were working on interiors of the building, we actually had all the the blinds came down, so people didn't really see and exactly what was happening inside until there was a grand opening, right?
You kept a secret for a while.
We had to keep the secret, and especially lighting also. We didn't want people to look at it, right? And so we came out here like 4 in the morning every day, and we tested out all the lightings.
When no one was on the streets.
When no one was on the street.
Eul-ho, I just want to thank you so much for giving me the tour of not only the interior, but the explanation and tour of the exterior. It's beautiful, and I'm so glad that I'm able to have the creator of this tell me kind of personally.
I'm glad that you like it.
Yeah. It's a great piece of work. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And good luck with everything.
Okay, thanks for having me in your show, and I had a great time.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.